Deep in the English countryside, there's a workshop where time doesn't just stand still, it gets rebuilt, re-engineered, and sent back out screaming down the road. These aren't just restorations, they're reinventions. Welcome to Alfaholics, the masters of the ultimate Alfa Romeo Restomods. The Alfaholics story didn't start with a business plan or a glossy showroom. It starts with a family, a passion, and a love affair with speed. Richard Banks, the man at the root of it all, grew up in the 1960s, idealizing two icons of British motorsport. Colin Chapman, the engineer who believed simplify then add lightness, and Jim Clark, the driver who made impossible lap times look easy. Like many young men of that era, Richard didn't just dream about racing, he went out and did it. He started his career in British Formula 3 at the wheel of Lotus race cars. Lightweight, nimble, and unforgiving, just how Chapman intended them. But racing careers are rarely straight lines. By the 1970s, Richard shifted into touring cars, campaigning minis, those cheeky little boxes that often punched way above their weight on track. And it worked. He was fast. But 1977 was the year that everything changed. Alfa Romeo had just released the Alfetta GTV, a striking mix of Italian style and motorsport potential. Richard snapped up the very first one to land in the UK, pointing it straight at the British Production Saloon Car Championship. The gamble paid off. Against a field of well-established rivals, he finished second in the championship 2 years running. Those results marked more than just podium finishes, though. They marked Richard's turning point from Lotus man to Alfa Romeo specialist. Eventually, family life pulled him away from the weekly grind of competitive racing, but his passion for Alfas never faded. What began as casually buying and selling used Alfa Romeos turned into something bigger. As the beloved 105 series cars began to show their age, they demanded more than a quick tune-up. They needed full restorations, paintwork, rust repairs, complete mechanical overhauls. Richard didn't see that as a burden, he saw it as a calling. By the late 1980s, Richard Banks had built a quiet but respected reputation in the Alfa Romeo world. He wasn't just buying and selling anymore, he was restoring, repairing, and, in many cases, saving these cars from the scrap heap. But history has a way of forcing even the most passionate purists to adapt. When the early 1990s recession hit, it wasn't just Wall Street bankers who were in trouble. The classic car market took a nosedive. Overnight, restoration work went from being a noble craft to a financial dead end. People loved their Alfas, but they couldn't justify pouring money into them when the world felt like it was crumbling around them. For many, that might have been the end of the road. But for Richard, this crisis became the catalyst for something bigger. He realized that while customers weren't ready to fund expensive full restorations, they still needed one thing: parts. Bits of trim, mechanical spares, body panels, the unglamorous nuts and bolts that keep old Alfas alive. The vision was clear. Supplying parts wasn't just a stopgap, it was a sustainable lifeline. So in the late 1990s, Alfaholics was formally born, not as a restoration shop, but as a parts reseller. It started small. Richard would source rare Alfa parts in Europe and bring them back to the UK, essentially bridging the gap between dusty warehouses on the continent and enthusiasts desperate for solutions at home. But word spread quickly. Orders trickled in from Europe, then across the Atlantic, and before long, Alfaholics had built a global reputation, all without a shred of manufacturer support. No official partnership, no safety net, just pure self-driven hustle. But here's the thing. Alfaholics wasn't content with simply reselling what already existed. From the beginning, there was a restlessness, a desire to improve upon Alfa Romeo's original designs without betraying their spirit. One of their earliest breakthroughs was recasting the legendary GTA wheels. The originals, made in the 1960s by Campagnolo in magnesium, were beautiful but fragile. Alfaholics reimagined them in aluminum, lighter, stronger, and far more practical for modern use. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was progress disguised as heritage. As Alfaholics began to stand on its own 2 feet in the parts world, a new force was quietly gathering momentum: the next generation of banks. Richard's sons, Max and Andrew, had grown up surrounded by the smell of petrol, the shriek of twin-cam engines, and the clatter of spanners in the family garage. Naturally, they caught the bug. Their journey started where so many future racers began: karts. From there, they graduated to Formula Ford, learning the art of speed the hard way, through mistakes, blown engines, and the occasional trip into the grass. But the real turning point came when they decided to build a proper alpha racer of their own. The result was GTAr number 1, the Genesis car. At its core, it was a steel-bodied Sprint GT, cleverly modified to resemble the lightweight GTA. Under the hood sat a 2-liter twin-spark engine borrowed from the Alfa 75, a transplant that was borderline revolutionary at the time. Swapping 75 twin-spark engines into 105 series coupes might sound almost obvious now, but back then it was pioneering stuff. The car was quick, reliable, and had just the right dose of mischief. GTAr number 1 made its mark competing in Julius Thurgood's Top Hat GTA Challenge, carving out a reputation as more than just a home-built toy. It was proof that the Banks family knew how to race, how to innovate, and most importantly, how to blend Alpha's soul with modern engineering. But here's where the real magic happened. Racing didn't just fuel their passion, it fueled the business. Every tweak, upgrade, and suspension experiment on the track became a prototype for a potential product. Suspension setups, brake improvements, engine upgrades. These weren't theoretical engineering exercises, they were race tested, punished lap after lap, and refined under competitive pressure. Max, in particular, saw the big picture. Fresh out of university, he stepped into the family business with one eye on the lap timer and the other on the balance sheet. He systematically stripped down the race car, identified the parts that made the biggest difference, and worked with engineering firms to reproduce them in bulk. Then came the masterstroke, selling them online. Suddenly, the same suspension kit that kept GTAr number 1 planted through corners could be shipped to an enthusiast in Tokyo, California, or even Stuttgart. The response was electric. Parts flew off the shelves. Well, more like out of their storage racks, and demand only pushed the team to keep developing more. What began as clever tinkering in a family race program quickly snowballed into a commercial breakthrough. By the late 2000s, Alfaholics had carved out a reputation as the go-to name for performance parts. Enthusiasts across the globe were transforming their tired, old 105 series Alphas with suspension kits, exhausts, and brake upgrades that had been tested and proven on track. The formula worked. But parts alone were never going to be the full story, and fate had a way of nudging the Banks family towards something much bigger. It started innocently enough. Alfaholics built a couple of demonstration cars, GTAr numbers 2 and 3, not as showroom bait, but simply to showcase how their parts worked in harmony. These were rolling proof of concept machines, a way of saying, here's what's possible if you go all in. They posted a few photos online, not as slick marketing, but more like inspiration for fellow enthusiasts. That's when the unexpected happened. A customer called and said, "I don't want just the parts, I want the whole car. Build it for me." That single request changed everything. What began as a parts operation suddenly evolved into full GTAr builds. Complete restorations of 105 series coupes, rebuilt from bare shells and enhanced with carefully engineered performance upgrades. This wasn't restoration in the traditional sense, this was transformation. The cars came out lighter, sharper, faster, but crucially, they never lost the essence of what made an Alfa Romeo so intoxicating in the first place. The first commissions were done quietly. Alfaholics didn't shout about it, they just built, tested, and refined. Development was relentless. Dampers were tuned on the Nuremberg ring. Handling balance was perfected across countless track days. Every road test became an exercise in chasing that sweet spot between modern precision and old-school soul. And then the press got wind of it. Reviews began pouring in, and they weren't polite nods. They were rave write-ups. Suddenly, the GTAr builds weren't just the obsession of hardcore alpha nuts, they were being hailed as some of the greatest restomods of all time. Waiting lists grew longer and longer. Today, if you put your name down now, you'll be waiting until 2029. That's right, Alfaholics is literally booked out for the better part of a decade. Not bad for a company that started out importing spare parts from Europe in the back of a van. And through it all, Max Banks remains the steady hand guiding each build. He personally manages every commission, from sitting down with the customer to decide paint colors and specifications, to overseeing assembly and finally taking each car out on the road himself before signing it off. In an era where most car companies treat customers like order numbers, Alfaholics treats each build as a bespoke partnership. For all the hype around Alfaholics, here's the crucial thing. They've never tried to reinvent the Alfa Romeo 105 series. The Banks family aren't out here tearing up the blueprints and designing something new. No. Their philosophy is simple. Respect the DNA, refine the details. That means the cars still have a live rear axle, just like they did in the 1960s. To some engineers, that might sound like madness. Why not just throw in a modern independent setup? But to Alfaholics, that would miss the point entirely. The 105 wasn't perfect, but its imperfections are what gave it character. The trick is to polish those rough edges without sanding away the soul. So every component gets attention. Steering feels sharpened, brakes are made stronger, engines are more reliable, and suspensions are tuned for both track precision and backroad mischief. And the oversteer, the glorious tail-happy oversteer that made Alpha purists fall in love, isn't engineered out, it's still there, waiting to play. Think of it as the difference between cleaning a masterpiece painting and redrawing it. Alfaholics keep the original strokes, they just make the color shine brighter. But here's the twist. GTAr builds might dominate the headlines, but they're not the whole business. The beating heart of Alfaholics is still parts. Every day, somewhere between 70 and 80 parcels leave their HQ in the English countryside, bound for garages all over the world. From small trim pieces to entire suspension kits, Alfaholics runs a global mail-order operation that keeps 105s alive from California to Kyoto. They also cater to the purists who want period-correct restorations, right down to the last bolt. On the other end of the spectrum, they'll prep cars for racing, keeping the Alfa badge on competitive grids across Europe. And to top it all off, there's still the GTAr in a box option, a kit for customers who want to take the plunge and build their own ultimate 105. Alfaholics doesn't just ship the parts, they provide tech support, guidance, and the occasional gentle nudge when someone bites off a bit more than they can chew. It's all part of the same philosophy. Empower enthusiasts whether they're buying a single part or commissioning a six-figure masterpiece. In a world drowning in oversized touchscreens and fake exhaust notes, Alfaholics reminds us what driving is really about. Feel, balance, and soul. They don't build cars for algorithms, they build them for people, and maybe, just maybe, that's why the waiting list now stretches to 2029. Now, if you enjoyed this dive into Alfaholics and their rolling pieces of art, hit that like button, subscribe for more automotive deep dives, and let us know in the comments if money was no object, would you wait a decade for one of these?